I don't know how to do this. So I'm in a weird position because I've been doing my streaming. I've been streaming my beer brewing, and that's been cool and fun and interesting. But as my name says, I am Jaysbeerreviews. So I haven't been doing a whole lot of like beer reviews lately. And cheers to you, Limp Brisket BBQ, for hosting me. I appreciate that, man. But yeah, so I've been doing a lot of beer reviews lately, because really I've been saving up all of my beer money so that I can make beer myself, and I've been streaming that. So it's Christmas and I'm like kind of broke, so I actually just went to my Trader Joe's and I got myself a can of beer. And so I went because I saw that Revolution Brewing out of Chicago, which is like one of my local guys. Revolution just released a cashmere hopped IPA. So they do like this series. It's a Hero series, they call it. And their Hero series, it's all IPAs, and they have like a Northwest. So it's all like Northwest style IPA. They have like a Centennial Hero, Tropical Hero, which is real like new age kind of fruity hops. And they have Citra Hero and Galaxy Hero and all that stuff. And I saw recently that they actually released a Cashmere Hero. And Cashmere, if you aren't familiar with it, is a hop that is like public domain. So it's something that you could actually acquire and grow in your own backyard. It's not like Citra or Amarillo or Simcoe where they have like crazy rights and proprietary rights and stuff like that. Cashmere is a hop that is freely available. However, it is relatively unknown. And it's one that I've been considering growing it in my own backyard because you can get your hands on it, but it's supposed to be like a close hop to like a mosaic hop. So nice, like real fruity notes, and something that's like kind of different, interesting that I don't normally get my hands on too much. So I thought it would be a cool hop to get. Oh, snap. Yeah, so I thought it would be a really cool hop to get. So what I wanted to do was go to Trader Joe's and get a can of Cashmere Hero, but, unfortunately Trader Joe's didn't have any. But when I went there, I did see they had this here Brut Hero. And so actually Brut IPA is a beer that I've been really interested in trying lately because it's got like a really nice dryness to it. It's supposed to be like Brut champagne. It's supposed to be like champagne-esque. And honestly, I've never tried one before. And I've just been like super interested in trying one. So I saw the can and I was like, dude, I absolutely need to get it. So I did, and that's why I decided to do my video here. You give me just a second. I'm gonna put some text onto the screen here. I thought that I already had this taken care of, but apparently I didn't. So, come on. My computer is like super slow. So you have to excuse me there. But yeah, Brut IPA is a beer that I heard of. I mean, like, it had to have been like at least middle of summer, if not maybe even earlier. I went down to this place in Chicago. It's called Aleman. They're a real small brewery right now. They're actually brewing out of where Five Rabbits originally started. And so I went over to Aleman. I happened to be in the area. I went over to Aleman, and I was hoping they had a tap room. Turns out they didn't. But what they did have was just the brewer hanging out, and the door was open, so I walked in. But he was super cool, and he's like, yeah, come on, and let me show you around. And I was talking to him for a little bit, and, we were talking, and he brought up this, new style of IPA, this Brut IPA. And since then, I heard about it, and I haven't had a chance to try it, and so I was super excited to see it on the shelf. I can inch it over, but I just want to grab it. So, if you see in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, which is, I'm assuming that's what it is, because that's what it is on my screen, I put in a phone number, and that's my Google number, man. If you guys are watching and you want to hit me up and you want to talk some beer, let's do it. Give me a call, and I'm hoping it'll work. I've never done it before. No one's ever called me. But I think it would be a cool thing to do. So if you want to give it a try, feel free. I don't guarantee it'll work, though. So, anyways, without any further ado, welcome to Jaysbeerreviews. I can't say, hey, YouTube, Jaysbeerreviews, because that's not, a YouTube thing. This is a Twitch thing now. And although it's on YouTube, and I will post it on YouTube later as well, that's not exactly what I meant for it to do. Of course, Jaysbeerreviews, my deal is that I always go ahead and go through the style of beer first, and then I grab myself an example of the style and try it and give you my tasting impressions. So for Brut IPA, it is a super new style. And so the BJCP, the Beer Judge Certification Program, they do not have any kind of write-up for it yet. You can find information about it on whatever your American Homebrew Association magazines, publications, stuff like that. But I thought I would just go ahead and read what Beer Advocate has, because as it is a new style, Beer Advocate is kind of the place where everyone goes to rate. So Beer Advocate says American Brut IPA, so they specify American, because I guess English Brut IPA would be different somehow. That's sarcasm. One of the newest styles to excite brewers and drinkers alike. Brut IPA first appeared in California in late 2007 and is notable for its effervescence and extreme dryness. Pale straw to pale gold. It's intended to be light in color and lighter in body than your American IPA. And again, whenever I think of what is the best example of just a normal American IPA, I always go to Two Hearted. That's just, almost everyone in the country can get it. It's highly rated, at least from, when I started making beer myself. So Two Hearted, while it's not my favorite IPA, it is definitely a good one, and it's a great example of what an IPA is supposed to be, or at least an American IPA is. So Brut says it should be light in color, lighter in body than your regular IPA. So Two Hearted to me is kind of robust. So almost any of the IPAs you're getting on the shelf now are also lighter than that. So it says here as well that the mash also has some combination of Pilsner, wheat, corn, and or rice. Pilsner I can totally get because that's the lightest of light base malts you can get. And then wheat usually is for a body or head retention type thing. And then corn and rice, to its detriment, is known mostly as a Budweiser or Miller Coors type ingredient. A lot of people see rice and corn as kind of filler. And that's, it is what it is. But so I guess that's one of the main, ingredients in this style is they use Pilsner as their base, and then they use these adjuncts to get their extreme dryness that they would need. And it says that they also use amylase enzyme. Amylase is it's an enzyme that is in the mash already. When you mash all of your grains, the amylase is already going to be in there, and that's what helps to break down all of the starches of the grain and turn them into sugars. Now, I've heard of people adding enzyme like in the mash, letting it sit. I've heard of people adding enzyme actually to the fermenter and letting it do its thing. Like in the fermenter, that'll get you down to bone dryness. So I guess that's what it's supposed to be. Like a champagne, it's like a brut champagne is extra dry. So that's one thing to note is that Brut IPA, American Brut IPA as they call it, is always going to make use of some kind of enzyme to really get to like as terminal a gravity as you can, like as low as you can get it, as dry as possible. It says here, bitterness is kept to a minimum. Fruit-forward flavors and aromas are achieved by late hopping, dry hopping, and the use of a neutral ale yeast. In short, these beers are highly attenuated, meaning they're extra dry. They are late hopped IPAs inspired by the appearance and mouthfeel of champagne. So again, the name Brut obviously does come from like a brut champagne, a sparkling white wine, wherein it's as dry as you could possibly make it. I personally got really intrigued by the idea because I was trying to think of like how can I kind of like make my grain go as far as possible when I'm brewing, and the use of an enzyme to get you down to like really really dry gravity is something you can do where if you have like almost like a session IPA, like an all-day IPA kind of thing, where it's like it starts off at a low gravity and it finishes drier, but if you used enzyme, you can get it to dry out even more. So you can get a beer that's like regular IPA strength, even though it starts off at a lower gravity, a lower original gravity. So that's something that's intrigued me. And my last beer, I did use enzyme, but I had a hard time tracking the gravity of the beer because it took a really long time to ferment out, and it was a mistake on my own part. Like I didn't take as much care as I should. So I don't want to use that beer as a kind of like exemplar for anything because it's definitely not an example. But anyways, so I will continue on here for the style examples because again there's no BJCP or anything. So they have here Northern Monk, Northern Brut, La Pirata. I have no idea what that is. It has one rating, but it's got a 4.75. One that you guys probably have been, aware of is Stone Brewing. They did one called Brut IPA. It's one of their Enjoy By. Enjoy By 1119. So it's about a month away. So if you can get your hands on that, it's probably a good idea. The 21A, 21st Amendment Brewing, did Hop Hammock. That's one that I'm familiar with. There's a couple other guys here. Flatland Brewing. Mars did one. My wife's telling me to make some quesadillas, dude. If you're watching, totally not going to happen. But yeah, so Mars did one. Got a 4.25. Pipeworks did one. Brutal Dudes. It's got 9 ratings though, so it's okay. All right, well, that's the style breakdown of Brut IPA. I'm going to close that window. Hopefully get some power back in my computer. But then I also pulled up a little thing from Omega Yeast, and Omega is they're a yeast company, obviously, and so they make a bunch of yeasts that are interesting. I have one of their like Norwegian yeasts that I'm playing with right now. But they have a little rundown of what Brut is as well. And so they talk about, like I said, that enzyme that I was talking about in the previous one. they actually mention glucoamylase. And I know like a lot of the guys who use a lot of the guys who are making Brut IPA say you have to use like the specific product. I believe White Labs makes it, which is just like an enzyme that they add to it to get down to really dry gravities. But I mean, I use what is this? Yeah, amylase enzyme. I usually always put it into my mash after I've reached my normal mash temperature. So I'll be at like 154 or something, and I'll add that stuff in just to make sure that everything converts easily, and I can run my mash out and not have a problem with that. Some guys, when they're making these Brut IPAs, they make the beer, and once it's in the fermenter, they'll add that like White Labs product, or in this case, they say glucoamylase. And that's the enzyme that converts any leftover starches into sugars, and it actually, any of the long chain sugars that are there, it'll also help break them down into shorter chain sugars so that the yeast can actually eat through it a lot faster, or not faster but easier. So that's something. I mean, I use that one product, and I've had it for a little while. I don't know how fresh it is, But anyways, even the recipe here on this Omega Yeast website, they give you an example of what a recipe would look like. And so it's like Pilsner malt, wheat, and then a bunch of hops. So, it looks like what they're doing, and I think what a lot of people are doing are like the new school hops. So like, what is this? Motueka, the Hallertauer Blanc, which is like, I don't know, like kind of mimics a white wine kind of character. Nelson Sauvin. Those are, kind of like the newer school, like Pacific New Zealand type hop things. But also, I see they're using Columbus, which is like just a regular American hop that's been around for like decades. So, it's something that's this beer style, something new that I'm really excited about, and I really am interested in experimenting with, especially in conjunction with Omega Yeast. They do a Hornindal Kvik yeast, which is the Norwegian style yeast that ferments out like crazy. So that's something like, if you watch my brewing stuff, that's something that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be playing with a lot more soon. But until then, I thought I would grab this sample, go through the style rundown, and we could try it, and I'll give you my tasting notes. So